Why lack of movement slows down your entire system. The kind of tiredness that doesn't fully make sense. There are days where your body feels strangely heavy even though you didn't really do much physically. You sit through classes, finish assignments, scroll on your phone for a while, and by evening, you feel drained. Not exhausted in the way people usually describe exhaustion, just slower somehow. Your thinking feels less sharp, your body feels stiff, and even getting up feels slightly harder than it should. Because nothing dramatic happened. It's easy to assume you're simply tired. But sometimes the feeling is not tiredness. Exactly. Sometimes your entire system is responding to too much stillness. Why stillness starts feeling normal without you realizing it. The body adapts quietly, and that is part of what makes this difficult to notice. If you move regularly, movement feels natural, but if most of your day happens sitting down, your body slowly adjusts. After a while, inactivity stops feeling unusual. That's the strange part about it. You can spend hours barely moving and it doesn't feel alarming because everyone around you is doing the same thing. Sitting during school, sitting while studying, sitting while relaxing afterward. It becomes so normal that you stop noticing. This raises a question. If your body slowly adapts to inactivity, how would you know when that adaptation is affecting you? The change is gradual enough that it almost hides itself. A day that looks busy but feels physically empty. I've noticed this especially during long academic days. The day feels full, mentally. You're constantly doing something, listening, typing, switching tabs, answering messages, trying to stay focused. But physically, your body barely changes position for hours. By nighttime, there's this strange, disconnected feeling. Your mind feels overstimulated, but your body feels underused at the same time. Almost restless and sluggish together, that combination feels difficult to explain unless you've experienced it yourself. Technically, you were active all day, but not physically active. Why movement affects more than muscles? People usually think movement is mainly about exercise or fitness, calories, workouts, athletic performance, but movement affects systems that most people don't consciously think about. Circulation changes, joint mobility changes, muscle engagement changes, and even breathing patterns shift depending on how much you move during the day. The brain responds to, and that part feels easy to overlook. Physical movement affects mental clarity more than people realize. When you move more consistently, your thinking often feels sharper too. Not instantly and not dramatically, but noticeably lighter somehow. The part that feels slightly backwards. People often believe they need energy before they can move, but movement itself helps create energy. At first, that idea feels backwards because when you already feel sluggish, movement feels like the last thing you want to do. Staying still feels easier. But once you actually start moving, even in small ways, something changes. Your body wakes up slightly, your breathing changes, and your alertness shifts. It's subtle, but real. Once you notice it, it becomes difficult to ignore how different you felt before. You start wondering if part of the exhaustion came from the inactivity itself. Why one workout doesn't fully solve the problem. This is another part that feels uncomfortable to admit sometimes. One workout does not completely erase an entire day of stillness. Exercise matters, obviously, but the body experiences the full pattern of the day, not just isolated moments inside it. So someone can work out consistently and still spend most of their life physically inactive. At first, those ideas sound contradictory, but they're not. There's a difference between exercising for 1 hour and moving consistently throughout the entire day. And the body notices that difference, even if you don't consciously think about it. The moment you realize your body feels better after simple movement, sometimes the realization happens during very ordinary moments. You spend the day walking more than usual. Maybe you're outside longer, moving between places, standing more often without thinking about it. By the evening, your body feels different, looser, more responsive. Even your thoughts feel clearer somehow. Then you compare that feeling 2 days spent mostly sitting indoors. That comparison feels almost surprising because the difference came from something so simple, not intense exercise, just movement. Why the brain slows down too? The body and brain are not functioning separately the way people sometimes imagine. Reduced movement affects circulation and physiological activity throughout the body, including the brain. The effect often feels cognitive before it feels physical. You lose focus more quickly. Your thoughts feel slightly foggier and starting tasks feels heavier than it should. Not impossible, just slower. This is why inactivity can quietly create a kind of low-level mental dullness that people mistake for laziness or lack of motivation, when really the system itself has slowed down. The problem with modern life is that it makes us feel normal. The difficult part is that modern life supports inactivity almost perfectly. School, work, entertainment, transportation, most of it happens sitting down, so when your body starts adapting to low movement, it doesn't feel unusual because your environment reinforces it. If everyone around you feels slightly low energy too, then the entire state becomes normalized. That's what makes this hard to recognize early. The difference between functioning and feeling alive: you can still function with very little movement. The body is adaptable enough for that. But functioning and functioning well are different things. There's a difference between getting through the day and actually feeling physically awake, in your own body, feeling responsive, feeling mentally clear instead of mentally overloaded and physically stagnant at the same time. That difference becomes very obvious once you experience both consistently why small movements matter more than people expect. One of the most surprising things is how much small movement changes matter over time. Standing more often, walking between tasks, stretching during long periods of sitting, going outside more, moving without turning every action into formal exercise. Individually, these things feel insignificant, but the body responds to patterns, not isolated moments. Small patterns repeated consistently change how your entire system feels. Final thoughts. Lack of movement slows down more than muscles. It affects circulation, focus, posture, alertness, energy, and how responsive your entire system feels over time. The difficult part is that the change happens gradually enough to feel normal. But once you start moving consistently again, even in simple ways, the contrast becomes difficult to ignore. That's usually when you realize your body had been adapting to stillness long before you consciously noticed it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to learn more.